Welcome back to Echo Ridge and a first look at Away Team, a new game by Klei in the Auction Not Included universe. I was fortunate enough to be a part of a playtest that lasted for about a week, so I wanted to make sure I got some gameplay uploaded so that you all could also see this exciting new title. I have about 10 hours in the game now, so I feel a little bit more prepared to be able to show you some of the bits and bobs of this new title. I think today we're going to go in as May. I am absolutely positive there are going to be more duplicates available by the time this game does launch at a who knows undetermined date. And while yes, what you're seeing me do is playing solo, the game will have multiplayer. We're not exactly sure how that's going to look quite yet, considering how much DNA you can find from the Don't Starve franchise in Away Team. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some significant co-op. The first thing we're going to do is take a look around, and the game helps you out by putting you in planning mode from the rip. Now, what you may see is some lit up spots around the map. You need to realize that the only reason they are lit up is because of these little glow ferns. In the center here, we have some light, although it doesn't necessarily show it, believed to be coming off the escape pod. But everywhere else is going to be dark. But luckily the game does give us a lot of tools to be able to contend with it. I've also got some wreckage pieces here. You can see where the rocket came down through, and then the cave sort of collapsed in on itself. I have some crystallized lice. We have some beautiful oxalite, some copper, and there's some iron. So I've got sort of the start of what I know I need to go and collect. So I'm going to press tab to exit out of planning mode, and you'll notice the oxygen coming from the escape pod is slowly filling the area. Ever so quickly, I need to go over some of the UI just so you know what you're looking for. The top bar is our oxygen, the second bar is our calories, the third bar is our stamina, and the fourth bar is our climate control. It says specifically that the duplicate can survive between -10 and 60, and it's serious. If you go into a biome that's too cold, the duplicate will start taking damage. We have some standard overlays in the top left, some messaging, our primary tools, and then our inventory down in the bottom center. We also have a crafting menu that has some of the basic things that we're able to handcraft. I'm going to select my first tool by using the mouse wheel or hitting the Q key and then start punching stuff. I'm going to grab some of that wreckage, and this is how we're going to start breaking apart these materials for the first little bit. And while the punching of the ground does collect some of it directly into your inventory, you also have to select your awesome super sucker gun. Using this tool, we're able to absorb a bunch of loose material. Not incidentally, you can also blow some of the material back out. In this case, though, we're trying to collect as much as we can. I'm also going to grab this iron. I know I'm going to need it. I'm gathering some loose stone here from the sandstone. I'm gathering some iron. And here we go. Just a couple more seconds of this. Now, while I am using keyboard and mouse, in the options, you can see that they are building the game out to also be controller friendly. This is a wild plankwood plant. I am going to use the E key to, well, I guess destroy it, and then my super sucker to absorb all those plankwood seeds and plankwood chips. And with that, I now have the ingredients to make a basic wooden shovel. I'm going to craft a couple of these because you will notice that they have durability down here at the bottom. And that way I no longer have to sit and just punch the ground. I can use my awesome shovel. Notice how much quicker we are getting through the terrain. Once again, don't forget to pull out your super sucker. I'm also going to gather from this wild glowthorn tree, and then I'm going to suck all of it up. Oh yes, absolutely. Because remember when I told you that these areas are dark, they don't just light up? I can then take the phosphor we got from the plant and blow it back out and light some of this area up. Very convenient. I'm also going to go say hello to my friend. He's a copper mite. It's going to give us a little bit more access to some loose copper. I'm going to take more plankwood seeds. And yeah, I know right now I'm doing a lot of gathering, but this is all very important. One of the things I am excited about with this game and being able to control the duplicates by the first person is it sort of rings in the same way that people play Don't Starve. And if you've seen the monetization strategy of Don't Starve, you can kind of predict what they're going to be able to do for Away Team. And I, for one, am very excited about that fact. Being able to build out your roster of duplicants, unlocking different things for them to wear, all very exciting stuff. Lastly, I'm going to grab some of this crystallized lice, making sure I also suck it up. And then finally, we have some water over here. I'm also going to absorb all it. And then I'm going to grab some more wreckage. I wanted to highlight something important here. As you can see the oxygen sort of interacting with the environment. Right below it is something called thin air. The thin air is not breathable. The oxygen is. And while May can hold their breath for quite some time, eventually you need to jump up into the oxygenated environment to refill their oxygen bar. Now that I've gotten all those materials, I'm going to sort of set up shop here. You'll notice I'm trying to be very careful of where I dig out using my sweet shovel because I want a nice flat terrain area. And that's because next up in our crafting menu, I'm going to grab a manual generator using 8 iron and 2 copper. I'm also going to grab a battery for 4 iron, 2 copper. And then I'm going to grab some electric wire. Notice that these take 1 copper for every 10 wires, so don't be too scared about gathering 40 or 50 of them, because you will end up using them. But with that being said, don't just willy-nilly hit the craft 9, because copper is somewhat of a more rare resource. Then I'm going to go into my inventory, I'm going to grab the manual generator, I'm going to slap it down right here, I'm going to put the battery in, oh, doesn't that look nice? And then I'm going to connect them with the wires. Now, I know this is going to make some of you cringe, because you just throw the wires anywhere. If you want to, you can create sort of these junction points and make them go straight across in a little bit more of an organized fashion. And then I'm going to go ahead and expend some of my stamina on the wheel, charging this battery. Notice my stamina is going down rather quickly. Do not worry, there are ways to improve your stamina later in the game. Once the battery's full, I'm getting off the wheel, and then I'm going to go over here to our escape pod. Because your escape pod is where you do your basic research. In fact, with just the escape pod, you can do up to tier 2 research. Once you break into tier 3, research is going to require lubricant, which then will require another building. In fact, it'll require a couple of buildings. Something else to note, you can no longer sort of just speed through the research train because, and I really like this, yes, it takes the research, which ends up being continuous power being supplied to the escape pod, but it also has other sort of objectives. In order to research basic oxygen, I'm going to have to provide the escape pod 3000 power and find 240 oxalite. Well, as you can see, I've already found the oxalite, so I can begin this research. And this is going to give me a circuit depot and access to the electric plate recipe. Another thing to note is that we have the ability to queue research in Away Team. Very glad someone finally got that message. So we're going to queue that one up to start immediately following basic oxygen. It's going to give us the food mixer and the mush bar recipe. But notice I still have to vacuum up 9 more wiggly lice in order to make that happen. With our battery supplying power to the escape pod, you can see in the top left, research is occurring. Here's the rest of that crystallized lice. So I'm going to try to use my sweet jumping skills, knock that down, and vacuum those up. It's the beginning of cycle 2. You'll notice that it's a lot more bright out. We do have a cycle meter in that top left corner as well. I'm just sort of trying to clear up the area a little bit, making sure we're prepared for the rest of the equipment I'm about to put down. Might as well gather some more phosphor while we're at it. While I'm waiting for this next research to finish, I figured I'd show you the expanded inventory menu. The far right side holds our liquids, and then the left side holds our solids. We also have a quick sort button that will put all natural materials to the right and then buildings to the left. Notice that things in your toolbar do not get automatically sorted, but that is just fine. We've just finished the first piece of research. We can now build the circuit depot, which builds electrical equipment. It's going to require 10 copper and 10 iron. Luckily, we still have it because we did a little bit of exploration at the beginning. So I'm going to put it right there. And then I'm going to grab this special third tool, open up my power view, because I want to reroute these electrical wires. Because while, yes, I could take the wire, go right from this hub that I made earlier to the circuit depot, that's a little sloppy for my taste. So holding the deconstructor gun, I can just left click and it starts removing all these wires for me. I can then put them in a nice daisy chain, like so. I don't know if that's the style I'm going to use in the future, but right now it saves me the most amount of material. And then when we walk up to our circuit depot, we get another menu. And this is where I'm going to want to create some electric plate. In order to get 4 electric plate, it requires 4 copper. I have 5 in my inventory, so I am going to fabricate the 4. And unlike when we are just handcrafting stuff that is immediate, the circuit depot is going to take a little bit of time to create the electric plates. But notice we are now out of copper and only have a little bit of iron remaining. So I am going to do some other exploration. You may have also heard that we finished food prep, which has given us access to the food mixer and a basic recipe. And we're going to need to do that because I'm sort of getting a little hungry here, even though the game does give you 20 rations to start with. I like to keep those for a just-in-case situation. Notice the food mixer says it's going to take 10 loose iron and 5 plankwood chips. So we know what we're looking for right now. Some more plankwood. That's easy to find. But we are also going to be looking for some more iron. There's some more oxalite, a few different deposits there. There's some iron down there, but I don't know if I want to dig all that out yet. Oh, there's a fresh copper mite. I will grab the copper from it. Thank you very much. In my exploration, it's starting to get dark, so I'm going to shoot out some phosphor. That helps. Notice there's some thin air and some water here. As soon as I break apart this wall, this water is going to come splashing down. The physics engine in the game is pretty good, so I am going to absorb all of that and make it bright once again. We have found more oxalite, but that's not exactly what we want. But since we're here, I might as well grab some. Notice when I'm breaking apart the oxalite, it does release some oxygen, but don't think about this in the same way as oxalite and oxygen not included. We have to do more stuff to this to really gain its benefit. Oh, there's some sweet copper right there and some iron. Might be a little bit of a pain because I can't walk on water, but what I can do is create some handy dandy ladders. I'm going to create a quick 60. In fact, let's go nuts and create 120. All that requires is some loose stone that we've been gathering for most of the day. I can drag this, and now we have a nice ladder here. Our shovel not only gives us the ability to mine things out quicker, but also gives us a bigger area of where we're actually whacking. And it looks like I need to get more light on this subject. It seems like there's a reaction happening between the phosphor and the water. So you want to make sure that you get your phosphor up here on the ceiling or like it is here on the ground. It's okay, I seem to have enough light. And yes, while this digging does appear to be taking quite some time, we're eventually going to unlock a couple different variants of pickaxes, not to mention some demolition if we really wanted to get fancy with it. Before I go, I am also going to make sure I absorb all these materials in here. I don't need all that water quite yet, but I did want to make sure there was no loose iron or copper for me, but the water will be handy here shortly anyways. In fact, let me also grab a couple of these wild wart pods and grab some of the raw pop warts that they produce. Now that we've made it back to our base camp, we can see that our electric plates are done from the circuit depot, so we just go take all. And then I'm going to take some of this loose stone and do something a little unorthodox. I'm actually going to fill this area in. I don't need this much loose stone, but what I would like is a nice flat surface. And yes, for sure, there are plenty of options for making flat surfaces. In fact, we'll go down here in the base building, which will give us access to the base depot, the brick, manual doors, and storage cabinets. All it's asking us to do is inspect 3 elements in the world and 3000 power. That's pretty easy. I can F1 there. I will F1 on the oxalite. Notice the menus it's opening up to give us more information, just like the encyclopedia does in Ani. And now we've knocked out the requirements for that research. Now, as you notice when I'm putting down the loose stone over here that it's falling. Stability is a thing in this game, so you will need to be careful with how you build your structures, whether it's with using loose sediment or whether it's using bricks. Right now, I'm not worried about using bricks because we have more important things to do, like putting down our fancy electric plate, and it looks like that's going to be a good distance there. I'm going to stack 4 of these up, and I'm going to hook them up to our power network, and then be careful not to jump in the middle of them because they do get spicy. Then I'm going to take all that loose oxalite that we gathered earlier. I'm just going to throw it in between here. And notice what's happening. We've got a little bit of electrolysis. And yes, you can be as sloppy as you want, for when that oxalite does go down here, from being turned into oxygen, you'll have a little bit of a pile, creating a sort of hopper. We're also out of power, so I need to start running on the wheel again. And there we go, I'm out of stamina, but the battery is full of power. The next thing we have to worry about is food though. We did gather enough materials to make our food mixer, so I'm gonna craft it and then place it down. We'll say right here, and then once again hook it up with some power. And then in here, I can queue up some mush bar using some of the water we gathered and the wiggly lice. I will fabricate a quick 5 because May really seems like they are hungry. I know what you're thinking. Echo, there's ration bars in here. But they even say eat in case of an emergency. It's not an emergency yet. May think it is, but it's not. Notice that we have completed base building, so we could go in here and start researching other things. I think the last thing I'm going to get for this example is the basic farming, which will unlock the outhouse. Yes, you can use the bathroom as well. Notice poor May here, bladder is sitting at 100%, and we're 3 cycles deep, because in this current build of the game, the duplicant doesn't have to go to the bathroom, it's more optional. The food mixer has spit out a mush bar just in time, so I will gather it and then left click it to eat, and that has given us some calories. But notice we don't have much else. I will do the same thing as they come out of the food mixer because we are still quite hungry, and it looks like we also need some oxygen, so this is good. Right now I'm sitting in carbon dioxide and thin air, but all I have to do to get more oxygen is, well, run through it. And now my oxygen bar is filled back up. The next important thing I wanted to show you is the creation of a farm, because while yes, we do have some mush bars going, that's not exactly going to do it for long term. But in order to put down some farms, I'm going to need access to dirt, which I have found plenty over here. I'm also going to grab some of that phosphorite, put some light on this subject. One thing to note when you are digging, especially when you're digging in the dark, you can get yourself trapped pretty easily in this game, so be careful. In this example, I have dug too far down here, so I need to use some ladders to give myself a way to get back up, and then I can run across here. But now that I have some dirt, I can actually throw that dirt on the ground, making a nice little bed. Oh, doesn't that look nice? And then I can take some of these wart seeds that I have here and spray them on the ground as well. And you'll notice after just a minute, we've got a little seedling popping up. But if you look at it, it says, hey, I need more seeds. Apparently I only got 5 from knocking over that last plant. So let me come back over here and grab a couple more. Yes, here they are, being stifled by all the water. No big deal. And now that I have those additional seeds, I can run back over to our farm and put those in. And now you'll notice a little wart pod is coming up, but it still needs something else now. Well, here we can go select our water. And as long as we're on our vacuum tool, or what I've been affectionately referring to, as you've heard, is the super sucker or super blower, and I will right click to wet this soil. Yes, it's not clean right now. These are early times, but the soil is now wet. Also notice that it says fertilizer, 1 out of 10. Where might you get some more fertilizer? Well, from the outhouse, of course. No, I'm not kidding. I can also do the same thing with our plankwood seeds. I'll put some of those down. Notice they start popping up. You can be as careful or as sloppy as you want. I'm also going to put down some glow fern because I've shown you how useful it can be in the creation of light. And the plankwood is useful as it's literally giving us access to a sort of wood material. More on that here in a minute. If I go over to the base depot that I just put down, you can see there's the outhouse now, which generates manure. It requires a duplicant to operate. That's one way to put it. Once the base depot finishes it, we can go grab it, and I'll put it right over here because this looks like a nice spot. And then May, if you wouldn't mind doing your thing. Yeah. Look, I told you it's different. I'm going to grab all that manure, especially considering it apparently just fertilized a bunch of dirt sitting here. So I suppose that's a good mental note. Don't put your outhouse on dirt, otherwise the manure will go right into that dirt instead of the dirt over here by your farm where your plants are saying they need more manure. Since we are somewhat limited on the time frame of this video, I wanted to show you a colony that's a little bit further along. Me and my friend Ren here have been doing a pretty good job. Notice that we have foundations down in the form of bricks, but because those bricks need stability, we also have some girders in place. Don't worry about all this nonsense here. This is, well, entirely too much lubricant. I have some storage stuff over here, which you may have been concerned earlier of how much of nightmare storage can be. You can tell that Klei is aware of it because they put in a button called Quick Stack to nearby storage. When you click it, stuff goes automatically into the correct storage cabinet. You'll notice that my farm is a lot more further along. I've got several wart pods, a glow fern, and some plank wood. You might be wondering about why do I have so much plank wood? To put in our oven, of course. This is specifically what I wanted to highlight on how advanced Away Team is going to get. There's a building here called an oxygen injector. I am actually going to give it more oxygen now, that I occasionally come over here and I add more plankwood chips to. Those plankwood chips turn into smoldering fire, which creates heat. The heat turbines pick those up, providing power for the rest of our colony. Additionally, all those raw popworts that we've been getting from our plants, I can take those and put them on this thermal plate. And after a little while, they start heating up. Well, they will cook. And you can see on the tooltip, the hot raw popworts will turn into jumping cooked popworts in 30 seconds. Now this design here, and one of the things I'm really enjoying about this game is how open-ended it sort of is. This isn't a design that the game just gave us. It's something that I worked on and tinkered with to find out what the best way to not only create the heat and the fire, but what do I do with all of the carbon dioxide and the excess heat that it creates? So I quite literally made a chimney. And with that, our cooked popworts are complete, so I can siphon those back out, make sure I shut these doors, then head over to my food mixer, and I can make some wart soup. Delicious. The last thing I wanted to show you using my handy dandy mapping core was how big the game is going to be. This is all explorable. In fact, on this map, I've only been able to make it up to around this point here because, well, it gets too cold at minus 15 degrees. And Ren nor May like it lower than minus 10. So I'm working on getting advanced equipment, which will give me the warming atmo suit. But in order to get it, I need lubricant. In order to make lubricant, I needed a lubricant refinery and the science lab to put the lubricant in. But as you can see from this giant mess, I'm also going to need some pumps and pipes and all that sort of stuff. So while the type of game is significantly different from our beloved Oxygen Not Included, the gameplay loop is very similar. We have amazing little critters. We even have different biomes. For instance, this is a slime biome, where I've landed into some poison gas, and Ren does not like that. Lucky for us, I have my handy dandy ladders. I can also throw some light on the subject using a glow grenade. That's better. We also have a lot of resources, just like Ani 2. Here's some tin ore and some dirty ice in what I'm sure is some sort of temperate cold biome. And exploration is once again name of the game, although I will not be able to get too far because poor Ren's gonna get cold. But I thought it'd be a great way to close out this video, seeing how far we can get and what else we can explore. And that's gonna be about it for Ren. Sorry, buddy. Maybe next time. If you wanted the full adventures of Ren, I actually streamed it over on my Twitch channel, and the VOD is available on our secondary YouTube channel, Echo Ridged Unabridged. I'll leave a link to that in the description of the video. This current playtest was only about a week long, but if you liked what you saw, I would highly encourage you to head over to the Steam page for Away Team. Check the wishlist button because it helps the devs and the visibility of the game quite a bit, and stay tuned for future playtests. I hope you enjoyed this first early look at Away Team and are just as excited as I am to explore more of the world of Oxygen Not Included. I can't wait to read what you have to say about it in the comments below, and until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.